Hello, Albert. It's gonna take me a while. You married, yeah.
I have returned.
So I have the game started. I'm just getting the rest of my mother's food done.
No problem.
The game eternally loads its stupid fucking shaders. Alright, that's done. Food should be ready.
Do you know how I can tell you're coming, Carl?
She's got her food. I've got my first round of food. I am prepared.
Every time I can tell you're coming towards the mic because every time you do so without fail, you're singing something or humming something.
Yep.
It's like an alarm. Carl is approaching.
I do that a lot in my house. Almost all the time, actually. Most of the time I did it, I have ways of literally around myself. My camera's on.
I didn't understand a word of that.
I do that all the time, especially when my camera's on, because it's how I remind myself that my camera and my stream is still running.
Oh, okay.
Nobody wants to just come to a broadcast and be like, where's the streamer? It's so quiet. Every now and again, we'll hear my mother yell at me from the other room, but... What stream isn't a Carl stream without Mother Coral yelling at Carl from across the house? And by across the house, I mean literally down the hallway. When I moved here, I wanted my room to be away from hers so I could avoid that, but nah. My sister's infinite wisdom. Last house, her room was directly above mine. Now she's directly down the hallway, and my acoustics are fucked either way.
Yeah. Hello. Right. So yeah, we're dual streaming tonight with Carl, SinglePlayerCarl, and we're both playing Hogwarts Legacy on our respective streams. So we'll both be responding to our chats and playing the game. He's much further along than I am, so while I'm not necessarily expecting help, and he's not going to give me spoilers, it's going to be, we're just going to have a bit of fun, shoot the shit, and play the game, because he got it for free, I got it for free, and we're just, it's a half decent game. I actually quite liked it. I thought the opening was, as I said in my last stream, I thought the opening was very solid. I'm at the point where I'm just about to go to my first trip to Hogsmeade, and that's about as far as I got. But it's going to be a good time. So, let's get on with it.
Who bought you a game?
My brother for my birthday.
Oh. Interesting. I'm seeing ads coming up for Netflix featuring the Henry Cavill 40K series. I think this is footage from him from when he was promoting The Witcher. Right now I'm just looking at the tweet itself. Henry Cavill's 40K series is just him narrating story elements between the tabletop game with friends. The man hustled Amazon. I'd imagine if that's the actual idea of his show, that's a lot better than what would have imagined. Because if that's what he's doing, that man got a big bag for Amazon, and they're about to make a whole lot of fucking money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, like, really... It's going to be, I'm going to watch it. It's certainly going to be better than most games that come out of that nature. Most shows even. I do like sort of read-along shows. I think they're quite enjoyable. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, though.
It's really dependent upon how they go about it. There's already people that are coping and saying, "Oh my god, the best way to just trick these guys into being triggered and mad is just mention about how there's no female Mace Marines." And it's like, don't you guys get tired? Don't you get tired of being mad?
Right, I'm going to have to go onto Discord and change the button that I'm using for text-to-speech. Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Nice. That I had it on up, but every time I was pressing up to talk to you, it was upping. It was like panning the camera in the game, and it was getting annoying. So what's the next big thing on the agenda for Carl in terms of content?
I've been recording videos in batch. I feel like the first batch is going to go out either Monday or Tuesday. Then at some point I need to finish deciding whether or not I'm going to just release Feet Lasagna with me doing the verses, or if I'm going to try to make like an animated video of myself doing it. Animated meaning that I actually like put an effort to record a music video around the grounds of my house and neighborhood.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with your TikTok, and a lot of them do seem to be you wandering around the neighborhood. They're good. It's good stuff.
Most of the ones that involve me being outside is just me doing my exercise routine of regularly walking and running around the neighborhood. Because it's spring now,
nice.
hornets' nests are out, and I needed to walk the grounds of the house to see what needed to be reupholstered for the outside tarp.
Yeah.
I keep debating if I'm going to do that I should make use of my time outdoors. Imagine going outdoors, chats. Who does that?
Touching grass? Couldn't be me.
Touching grass, cutting grass, smelling grass, talking to my neighbors, buying groceries? We're neats. We're supposed to stay indoors and order it off DoorDash. And
we don't have DoorDash in the UK. We have Just Eat and Uber Eats.
For some reason, I don't trust Uber Eats. I understand it's basically their app and it's the same thing as the Uber app, but I don't trust. I don't trust them for some fucking reason. I don't know what it is. I use Lyft anyways. Fuck Uber. Especially since I'm just sitting here eating the rest of my fucking pasta before I prepare the last batch. Actually, I have to decide if I'm going to prepare another batch of chili, or if I'm going to prepare a batch of pasta. Because I used most of my beef last night to make hamburgers. I had the beef, I set it aside, and I just thought to myself, actually, I want burgers. And the house was like smoky and shit for like 4 hours. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, on the topic of the game, I can't help but I'm like 2 hours in, and I can't help but notice this is the exact type of game that like Kotaku and like Destructoid would be gushing over if it wasn't attached to J.K. Rowling.
Uh-huh.
It's incredibly diverse. It's got a trans character in it. One of the main side characters is like an African immigrant to the UK. Like, I just can't help but notice that if this was a game from any other franchise, this would be peak culture war content for the exact opposite reason that it is.
Exactly. It's flabbergasting how devoid this game is of majority kind of content that I'd want from something that tries to put itself in the same category as, well, really any open world game. But I've had people in the chat room throw around this is Breath of the Wild. I've had people throw around comparisons to Elden Ring, but it's really not. It can't be, because those games actually have content. Where there's content, because I bitched about this last stream, where this game should have content, it does not. It has a giant overworld that's extremely empty, that doesn't want you to explore it, because everything that isn't just in a giant distance away from the map that you can't go to yet, because you don't have flying mounts, you can't explore because it's all locked. And of all the shit that's fucking locked, you can't go anywhere and do anything. Because even with having all the things available to you, it doesn't really matter, because what the fuck you gonna do? There's nothing to do! Can't go anywhere that's really out of the way, like a secret hidden challenge puzzle. Well, I died trying to talk. You can't go anywhere with a secret hidden challenge puzzle. You can't actually explore anything ahead of time and get like an award and achievement from it, because even though I'm pretty sure there are plenty of achievements, I know there are some on the Steam edition, it doesn't feel like the achievements are marking anything useful, you know? Like an actual challenge that you need to do for a game like Risk of Rain 2, or something that'd be a challenge to do in Path of Exile, or something that would be an actual challenge to do in Elden Ring, like killing Melania. There's no secret hidden boss fights, and realistically the named enemies aren't named enemies, they're just fucking uber elites. They're no different from yellow names mobs in any other ARPG. It doesn't feel like I'm playing an open world single player role playing game. It feels like I'm playing a Harry Potter themed ARPG, and they just haven't filled the game with the content yet. It's extremely barren, like it's supposed to be a roller coaster ride-esque game on rails kind of experience. It feels like the bare bones of a Harry Potter MMORPG. And we're just playing the single-player campaign edition of the open world map that will then have actual things to do. My opinion of the game started out, well, I wouldn't say my opinion started out high. It started out at a 7 out of 10. But the more I play it, the more it becomes clear that either the game is suffering because of the fact that they lost Troy Levitt, or it is a direct consequence of, if not losing a designer, or just not having the ability to focus on the things they needed to focus on, because there's pulse in them. Oh, my excuse speaking again. It feels incomplete. It just feels incomplete. And because it feels incomplete, it sucks in places where it shouldn't. And the only thing that makes up for it is combat. And I'll be specific, combat without use of things like words are failing me. Without things like, I'm in the middle of combat right now. Without things like, where is this executioner? I don't see him. Without things like the use of the Avada Kedavra curse, or the use of the particular part of the talent line, which I don't think you've gotten there yet, but it'll come up in like the next hour of gameplay on the main quest line. Having the ability to use Avada Kedavra to kill all targets on screen. When you don't trivialize your combat using that chain of talents, the gameplay loop of combat is engaging and fun. When you destroy your involvement with the combat loop by removing that feature, it feels like a 3 out of 10 game all around. There are some nice nods, there are some nice details, but nothing that is deserving of what I would say is a $60 price tag for a game that very much feels like what happens if you take a GOS model video game, a game made as a service, and you ripped all the multiplayer connectivity out of it and left it behind with a giant barren world. It's like playing a game that was connected to the Wii and Wii U universe. You know, like the re-release of Wind Waker on the Wii U, but all of that interactive connective content from the Wii 24 Connect Access and the Wii Online Forum/server that everybody communicated with was just gone. That's what it feels like. It's jarring, to say the least. What's your opinion?
I'm quite early on, so I can't say that I have too much of an opinion one way or the other. But I can't help but feel that this is like, I feel like there's a lot of features that have been deliberately locked in this game. Like, I'm 2 hours in and I've passed like literally dozens of like locked doors, and they're all like level 1 locks. I'm just thinking, surely I should have been given Alohomora by now.
Yes, that was exactly my criticism before too. And it gets worse. You have to unlock them in tiers of spells by collecting the Demiguise moons. That part is not so much a spoiler. The game actively makes it a main quest line. Getting this spell to explore the world that is locked off to you otherwise without it. Of which you can technically go pretty far once you have the broom. Or if you want to just be that asshole who goes on foot the entire way, which that makes the world feel a lot bigger, which was really what I think influenced my opinion of the game. The game had a really big opportunity for an open world design, but the problem is that the entire world was artificially small in the first playable zone around Hogsmeade and the greater area of Hogwarts Valley. And when you remove the artificiality of that locked-off sense by actually giving access to the broom, you realize how bad everything else is. That's at least my take.
There we go.
Because, like, the physical model is nerfed, the proportions of anything really notable realistically nerfed. I don't know if it's because the game was incomplete in a certain state. I don't know if it's because they're missing people.
Is that the
I
hippogriff
have no
from
idea.
my treasure map?
But there's a lot that's missing here. And the game developer in me tells me that this is not intentional. This is the consequence of things just being gone.
New place for expulsion! Expulsion!
All of this does feel like MMORPG quests. Like, in that it's all just a pretense for something else. Like, including the dialogue and stuff, it's all very bare bones, and it feels like you're meant to create your own fun, but there's not much, like, fun to create, if you know what I mean.
Yes. It's not made better by the fact that all of the things that you would like to do that the game gives you an option to do, you cannot do, because the game decided it is not time yet for you to have the ability to open doors.
I can't help but also notice that they've already released a Winged Mount DLC. I think they released it on release day. And what this means is effectively that they've put a price tag on... They've effectively put a price tag on having access to the game, to like the majority of the game early, which is a little scummy. Like, if they were releasing like Mount DLCs in general, I'll be like, yeah, it's a little stupid, but I get it. But it's the fact that it's specifically a Mount DLC and it's only one. It makes me think that's just like, yeah, they released that specifically so people would get because they knew people were going to get irritated with not being able to do stuff and would just pay to be able to do it straight away.
Are you talking about the Thestral skin?
Is it a skin?
Yes, the skins that are given for mount flying are completely cosmetic, and they are not unlocked until a particular mission that involves rescuing 2 hippogriffs. There is one for Highwind and Caligo, which is the white and black feathered hippogriffs, and then there is the actual Thestral skin that I believe was a part of the digital deluxe edition of the game, which came with the ability to play the game 3 days early before February 10th. All of those are cosmetic, as are the broom skins. Every single broom skin is cosmetic. They're all the same.
Right, so it's not malicious. It's just dumb.
Yes,
just dumb
it's Elder Scrolls horse armor dumb, which honestly is less offensive than the fact that you cannot mass sell items in the shop. Every item needs to be manually sold every single time, and it's the main way that you're actually supposed to grind for gold in the game. It's not from the reward chests, it's not from challenges or from side quests, it's from killing enemies. Enemies drop the highest density of materials, and the majority of the armor that you will wear is almost always going to be legendary, because they control the trait slot level that your items can be socketed with, and they also are the highest value of resell value. Every single item has the semi-resell value from its tier. It doesn't matter if it's a higher version of the weapon or not. It's like taking the worst aspect of looter shooters, such as Borderlands, and homogifying it even further than it was already homogified when they copied the formula from Diablo. And I'm not going to piss poor on Blizzard game because boo-hoo-hoo Diablo. I'm not talking about Diablo 3. I'm talking about Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, the Diablo 1 mods, the Diablo 2 mods, the Diablo 2 re-packs, the full conversion mod packs like that of Path of Diablo and of XL Median, that kind of game. Path of Exile kind of things. You'd think the items would cost more if they have really high stats and they're higher in level, but that's not how it works. It is instead, it's a base level design. The base level design specifically and only specifically targets that particular reach, and no matter what you do, it will never sell for more, so you just have to collect more. So you have to wander the world, killing enemies, slowly learning what the enemy weapon and archetypes actually do, which that is a fun loop. That's a part of the collection log once you actually get the field guide. Also, side note, earlier in the game, before I had the field guide, I thought the menu was bugged because every single time I wanted to just go to the proper menu, it was bringing up the settings menu, but the settings menu doesn't open properly until you actually get the field guide book from the main quest in the first few quests of the game. That was kind of annoying for me. But the first thing I did was I started exploring the overworld around the castle and finding a lot of the enemy encounters, of which there are many. And every single enemy type, even including the ones on the story missions based around the main quest of the game, have particular things that they can have things done to them in order to have follow-up attacks to make them vulnerable and take higher damage. Which I like that aspect of the combat, because it actually means, because this is also a part of the trait menu, part of the base level core talent trees is an option to have the alternated other 4 spell sets for a total of 4 spell sets of 16. So you can have 16 spells instead of just having the base 4. My criticism is, why the fuck am I getting this in a trait window when that should be the default? Why am I? It's a bit Borderlandy. This element of, oh, you can't get this until you get through this, but like, Borderlands was intended to be a Diablo-esque game that you grinded, so it made sense that you had less slots as you were going through the campaign, because the game was getting you prepared and ready for the full end game that you'd spend more time grinding. That's normal for any game. The problem I have is, why does this bare-bones game make me have to put in talent points? Because there's no infinitely higher grinding level. I think the level maximum is level 40. Why are you making me spend my precious talent points for something that should be a base level foundational requirement of one of the more engaging and featured components of your game. Not just as a content creator, not just as a player, as a game developer. As a person who learned to do it from some of the best here in Columbus, where I went to my state university. Why the fuck did you give me things that I need to pay for so I can have fun doing the thing that I should be able to do from the jump? Am I expecting to be able to cast Avada Kedavra? Not really, no. But I would like the ability to cast the spells that I learn. What about the cosplay ability of the game? I can't pretend to be a Hogwarts student and just focus on study. And if I focus on study, getting higher level focus in the particular tree of education my character should get. All of the assignments, and I'm sure you've gotten a couple of those because the first assignment you get is for the spells like Depulso and Accio. Like the base level ones. I know the first one is Accio. I know the other one is Levioso. Learned from the Dark Arts and then from the Charms class. Why is it that there isn't a tree for the spells? Where if you go to the Defense Against Dark Arts classes on time and you get high scores, you get an assignment quest that then gives you the next tier up until the maximum tier, or rather the last unlockable attack and combat spell of that order of magic. It's like D&D in that way. Oh, you go to the Defense Against the Dark Arts class? That's basically like Conjuration. Okay, let me teach you the first form of the short-range fire spell. And then we'll teach you the long-range fire spell. Then we'll teach you the frost spell. And then we'll teach you disable and disruption spells. And then once you finally get all the base levels, it's all right, now let's go to the class where you can start augmenting it. What do you want to focus on? You want to focus on being a really good caster of fire magic? Well, here, your short-range fire spell that used to be in just a range in front of you now goes all the way around you. You want to become better with the slicing spell? Now, your slicing spell goes through enemies. You want to become better with Depulso? You now have the ability to create an additional blast radius directly in front of you as a cone, rather than only being able to push one enemy. But the only way to get it isn't from just stupidly adding talent points. It's, you need to attend the class. You must become good at it. You actually need to pass like a mini-game side quest challenge, like Cross Wands. You'll get that in a moment. If you haven't already done it, it'll come up because that's a requirement, actually. All of these things that are in trees, like I'm playing World of Warcraft, why the fuck aren't I getting it by just playing the game and deciding if I want to do it or not? It's basic shit like that. I keep opening my menu because I'm trying to look at this thing.
Another good thing in that vein would be, well, I'm using Slytherin as an example because you know it's the trope in the franchise, like becoming friends with like more dark leaning, like perhaps older Hogwarts students in Slytherin, and they'll teach you the unforgivables. Like once you reach a certain level of proficiency with like spell work, because if you just choose to take your character down the dark path, then once you get to a certain level of that, then and once you become like you've done certain quests with them and became like friends with them, then they'll teach you the unforgivables, and that gives you certain advantages throughout the game, like being able to control people and kind of get information out of people, you like by torturing them and like like killing enemies, like in just one-shotting enemies.
It feels really dumb when you consider that that's technically the way that they justify the quest line to learn Avada Kedavra. Every single house can learn it, but the person who you learn it from is from Slytherin, which realistically, okay, that's fine, that's cool, evil spell for the evil house, okay, let's get it. But then, when you actually go through the quest line, it's much more like, well, shouldn't some houses actually be precluded from even wanting to learn this? Like a Gryffindor? Learning the Unforgivables? The preparatory school class? Really? Deadass? That feels wrong! Whereas a Slytherin student, it's like, oh, you have the option to get it earliest of all, but, you know, with some ingenuity, a Hufflepuff might convince a Slytherin to teach them, or, you know, a Ravenclaw, if they happen to outsmart somebody and have the ability to blackmail them, they might be able to learn it, maybe like secondhand, or if you do enough combat, if you wanted to go more Fable system, if you do enough combat with Dark Wizards, they start fearing you, and maybe you even get approached by the villain of the game saying like, yeah, you're a pretty good murderer because like you kill so many people. There's actually an entire challenge tier devoted to combat that you get rewards based on how many people you kill and based on how many enemies you kill. For Dark Wizards, it goes all the way up to defeating at least a minimum of 100 Dark Wizards to get like a trait to sock it into your armor. But what if instead of giving me a challenge window that says you must kill these many mongrels to get lupus protection, or you must kill these many trolls to get this? This is where you start getting the ranger side of things, where it's like if you go out into the world and you start killing a lot of monsters, you can start focusing on that particular enemy type after like talking to some NPC in the castle, showing that you wanted to have an interest in being like an herbologist of nature, whatever, you know, beast classroom. You could be able to become a beast tamer, or maybe even get the ability, if you're like, I don't know, a Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw, to be able to unlock a side quest to become an Animagus, something that is unique to the house that they should be able to do. Because I feel like if I was to make a game and it was about Harry Potter and I wanted to be able to demonstrate like the unique ways a person could choose to play the game, a Slytherin could be able to learn to do the Unforgivables, and they could be able to cosplay being a Dark Wizard, or they could be an anti-hero wizard that's casting the unforgivable curses, but they're still a good person. Or you could have a Ravenclaw be like a master of particular kinds of spells and potions, and thus they're able to use things uniquely, like Polyjuice Potion, to transform into a type of humanoid in combat as a means of distraction and disruption, or infiltration into an enemy location. You could be able to have Hufflepuffs be Animagi, where they can change into different kinds of animals, and when you first become an Animagi, having to basically do like a Dark Cloud 2-esque system, for those who actually played level 5 games before Ni no Kuni 1 and 2 in the remakes, where you have to start off as like a really weak monster type, but the more monsters you encounter and the more monster parts you collect, and the more potions you brew and craft, and the more time you spend learning how to become different Animagi, you're able to figure out how to do it, although that's not how Animagi actually transform. They explain it to you later in the game as a part of the Wagyu questline. It would be like that. Something interesting and engaging, and even if it's not accurate to the lore and history of the world, something different. And then like, for the entirety of a house like that of Gryffindor, them having maybe the highest potential opportunity chances of quests, but not having the most quests in the game, and the ability to do things like be able to talk to shopkeepers and have their trust and get like special missions to go on deliveries for them, because that's a side quest that happens in the game as well. All of these things that for some reason weren't given enough love. And I know they can do it. It's just missing love. It's just missing basic fucking love. And I'm scratching my head thinking, why is that? And I don't get it.
For a game that's supposed to be an RPG, it's not very RPG-like. Like, because it doesn't... Like, it's one of these, like, folks RPGs where it wants to give you the illusion of freedom, but it's very clear that there's a way that the devs want you to play it, and they could try and bottleneck you into playing it that way. It's like it's devs who want to make a linear game, but they're forced to make an RPG, or they feel they need to make an RPG either because they think it's trendy, or because like that's what they were commissioned to do, but they're kind of being indignant about it. Like, it just feels like they didn't want to make an RPG, but they've had to, so they're basically just being like shits about it.
Yeah, that's really what it feels like in some places. Because I can see the influence that Troy Levitt and his team originally had for the game. Because Troy Levitt was a part of Disney Interactive during the time of, like, the very, very, very structured copies of Skylanders, which their version was called Infinity. But he was also involved in the kind of things that were like projects for side games and other materials such as Kingdom Hearts Recoded. So it's obvious where the important bits are and how they relate to each other. But where it's shit, it's really shit. And it feels like they didn't care enough to try hard enough. So when I start looking at all the puzzles as a whole, and how I just can't make heads or tails of some of them, it feels like there's something that was missing in the process. Something that just went unchecked, untapped. And the more time you spend looking at it, the more time you spend trying to figure it out, the more clear it's like, oh no, it's bad because it's just shit. And there's no other way to explain it. It's just, no, this is just bad. Because it racks your brain. Because you think to yourself, it couldn't be that bad. Am I making it up? Am I doing a bit? Am I saying it for the meme? Am I just uneducated and I don't know what I'm talking about? But the more you do it, it's like, no, this is just bad. It's actively shit.
Treasure.
Just shite. Shite, I think is the word. All the way around. And the deeper you get, and the more time you spend, the more clear it becomes, like, okay, this is interesting, but could it not, though? Perfect case example is this puzzle I'm seeing right here. But this is not what I'd expect of a quality of a modern-day AAA game. Even though this is a company that's connected to WB, so it's not necessarily a licensed game, because this is royalty-free. Joanne ain't got a... Well, she makes royalties off of it, but she makes royalties off of the IP. She doesn't make royalties off the game. But even as a royalty-free game, it's very clear that the emphasis and time spent on this is bad.
It feels like for a Harry Potter game, they were so focused on making a Harry Potter game, they kind of forgot to make a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, if I were to imagine a game that would exist for the world of Harry Potter, I would not design it like this. Because if I was designing a game that was disconnected from the movies, and I wanted to basically make a game that exists in the world that has been unexplained, that has been untraversed, and is just missing all the unique, important things that should be in it, this is not how I would do it. And it feels robbed in many capacities because of the fact that it's missing it. So I'm not sure for what reason it was done in this way, but I can feel the shite the more I play it, and the more of the game I see. Or rather, I should say, more of the game that I don't see.
By the way, how do you open the chest with eyes?
You must have the invisibility spell. They are... They move... They open and close based on sight.
Right, so so it's a higher level chest, right? I get it.
You actually get the invisibility spell before you get the unlocking spell. Actually, as soon as you get it,
you're joking.
I am not.
Literally, Alohomora is literally in the first book in the first movie. Like, it's meant to be a very basic spell.
It's one of them things, bro. It's one of them things. It doesn't make any logical sense to me either. It was like, I could wax poetic about how dog shit it is, and yet nothing will make sense for how bad it is. Because Where it's bad, it's really bad. And where, even in the combat that I'm doing right now, where it's exceedingly bad, is in places where it's like, we're gonna throw a bunch of enemies at you, and instead of actually making good combat situations, we're just going to flood the screen with enemies and hope that you figure it out yourself. Which isn't all that bad if you've got the handle on combat. But it is definitely not ideal.
Just warming up. Look what you've done. You might want to look up. Inductive, aren't we?
Well, that's shit. Hit the counter spell. I hope that they be able to resist myself. That's wild. But yeah, I could wax poetic for like days. If I choose to record a review for this, I'm not gonna have a lot of positive things to say about it. I can guarantee that much. I think the words that would best exemplify the problem is empty. The world is empty. And it has no excuse for being empty either.
I've just beaten the troll in Hogsmeade, and I have to say that felt a tad generic, I won't lie, that boss fight. I'm hoping they get better.
I would say early combat feels very generic because you don't have a lot of spells on hand. Even with the inclusion of Ancient Magic and Ancient Magic Throw, having Ancient Magic instead of being like a tree of magic that you could specialize into, and instead being a basic giant heavy charge spell that requires bar burning to occur, and it just randomly picks different visuals to visualize what the Ancient Magic is doing, makes it feel really bad. Because that's not what I imagine Ancient Magic would feel like if there was such a thing in the Harry Potter universe, and I was to cast it. I'd imagine it'd be like an equivalent of a scene where, out of a burst of emotion, just like how Harry starts speaking Parseltongue without realizing that he knows how to speak it, it'd be like incantating a list of words that you'd have never said in your life, because the situation and your magic and your blood dictated you do so, and you being able to do something, like one of the visuals, conjuring a giant bolt of lightning to strike your opponent from the sky. And nobody knows what you're incantating, or if you even did an incantation, you just knew how to move your hand, and you did it wandless. That's what I'd imagine magic to be. But it doesn't feel like that. It's more like, well actually it is like, a combo system. 10 hits, and then every single multiplier after 10, you get more little droplets that equivocate to a better charge of your spell. The more you do, the better it jumps and charges, until the point that it is fully stacked. And then there are even little quests that you can do in the overworld to be able to get more points on the bar. but it doesn't really matter because the points on the bar don't matter. Because, like, you can get more space for casting the spell, but the spell's no different. And if you're going to have Ancient Magic on the bar prepared for, like, boss events, that doesn't matter. Because even in the in-game bosses, the only way you can kill the bosses is by making them vulnerable by doing combos that are very highly telegraphed, so it doesn't even feel like combat that you earned. You know, it's not like playing Elden Ring, and you chose a build, and that build requires you understand the intricacies of your incantation combos. Learning how to do something like combos based off of Carrion Slicer and Carrion Lancer, or anything in the Carrion spell set. Actually needing to know how much damage can you get out based on how many points of investment you have into the intelligence side of the tree. How much damage can the combo actually do under these circumstances? Is the combo enough to be able to force the guaranteed fundamental basic trigger stance? Off that trigger stance, how many other spell rotations can you fit in? What's the limitation of the damage that you can be able to do? How early could you be able to access something to allow for that combo? Something like, even the recording of myself at rune level 30, bullying the shit out of the Phantom of Loretta the Mage on horseback, is only capable because there is an actual fundamental game loop of the parry and block system. Learning that gives me the ability to take encounters that in the early parts of the game we would all be rolling away from, to instead be I'm gonna block you, and I'm gonna parry you, and I'm gonna block you again, and I'm gonna parry you again, and I'm gonna set up for the quick kill, and he died in 5 rotations. Whereas opposed to, even in good games like Elden Ring, combat in the beginning when you know nothing, basically being like, oh my god, I'm rolling for my life. We all played the first part of the game, and if we haven't, you should. Or you should at least watch people experience it for the first time. We all came across that horse in the giant hills in front of the first church where we get Torrent. We all experienced it. Come on, chats. You know, you ran past that boss because you were terrified. He was just there, in the field, existing, vibing, and he beat your ass, and you're like, what the fuck, bro? I didn't ask to get my ass beat. I can't even fight back. But you're thinking to yourself, you know what, actually, it is the start of the game. You got a tutorial boss to beat the shit out of you, and if you were actually good enough to, or if you were like me, you brute forced it enough that you just kept repeating over and over again until you finally killed it. It's like, okay, you got some skill under you, but certainly the game wouldn't abuse you this early. But then they do. Things like that, you're not mentally prepared for those kinds of things. Most people are not. And yet that's how the game works. But it's rewarding for that, right? Because you feel like you earned something. You feel like you learned something. But you don't feel like you learned anything in those scenarios here. Oh good. The giant absconder fight. It's a giant spider. The giant absconder fight. It has a particular weakness to Descendo. But you don't learn Descendo until much later in the game's quest lines. I feel like the game doesn't want you to actually know it until level 30. I learned it earlier, but the game doesn't feel like it wants you to have it there. And at the time I encountered that encounter, I didn't have the spell, but I had an entire wheel full of combat items, and I had just took a level in the combat tree that gives it the ability to have a second Chinese chomping cabbage, which is basically like a homing range pet, or homing melee pet, that just chases enemies down and hits them for free. I just dropped all the full stacks of them and just kept casting damage spells at a distance until it died. Is it an effective way to play the game? Yes, it is. They're tools. You supplied them to me. But do I feel like I'm a master wizard that's outplaying my enemies, having to hide behind foliage? Let's be dead ass, chats. No, I am not. That breaks my character fantasy. That's at least my opinion. What do you think? I can't find this thing. I know there's one in the area because there's one here. Am I supposed to drag it over?
And I've met Serona Ryan.
Honestly, a very basic character to be introduced that way.
Indeed.
I'm still surprised people are bitching about that character.
Yeah. I
Wingardium Leviosa.
You have no comment to the rant I just had?
Wingardium Leviosa.
Okay, it does move. That seems so janky, but okay, that works. Also, thank you, Fabian Perez, for the 2 super chats. Playboy Carl. That's another fantasy. That's another thing for me to be on the weekends. It's good to hear you're working out. I can't remember it enough, honestly. I'm fat. I don't have a choice. I like being fat, but I don't like being fat. You know what I'm saying? I gotta keep my pH balanced. Alchemy.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Now, if I hover this over this, is he gonna steal it from me? You son of a bitch, you did. Okay. So the stairs are just, it's just programmed to steal it from me no matter what. Okay. Oh, is it just gone now? Did it just oh, my head. Oh, my head hurts. You took a particular item from the character that is necessary to solve a puzzle. Because you programmed the stair
Revelio.
to do dumb shit. I cannot believe. I cannot believe. I cannot believe. And the worst part is that it's literally right there. Look at it, chat. It's right there on the wall.
Revelio. Arresto Momentum. Revelio.
It literally pulled the item outside of the world. So you cannot access this item unless you reload the area. Of all the shitty ways to make a puzzle, I think that's the shittiest I've ever seen. Because that doesn't feel like a puzzle.
Revelio.
I want this to kidnap me here. I don't think I know how to get down there.
Arresto Memento. Expelliarmus! Revelio.
Well, I have to reload the zone. That is extremely shitty. Oh my god. That's really bad programming. Sounds like Royal Guard. I don't know what that is, Albert.
Tactics on Devil May Cry.
Ah, yeah. I forgot. I thought he was talking about something else.
Swordmaster, Royal Guard.
So, like, just in this zone that I'm in right now, there's, like, 2 connecting pieces of a puzzle. This area introduces you to a wall that will kidnap you and dump you in a different place.
Also, apparently, Ravenclaw has the least amount of side content. Is that true?
That is apparently true, yes.
Like, apparently just... I kind of get it, because, like, the narrative focus of Harry Potter is more based towards Gryffindor and Slytherin. But apparently just, like, even Hufflepuff has more content, and I would expect it to be the other way around.
I personally don't like the idea that we just decide that there is going to be different quest lines for characters and different quest lines for characters to do things, rather than you need to invest yourself into a character's life before they reward you with the quest line in question, because it feels really bad that they lack the ingenuity to understand how side quests work, because we don't just show favoritism to a single house arbitrarily, because then this is not a game that's intended to be played once. It means it's a game that's intended to be played at least 4 times. Do you know what I mean? So, like, based on the amount of content that the game has to offer, and the fact that it has been proven, we know for a fact, because the goddamn angry people that were trying desperately to boycott the game wouldn't shut up about what the game had to offer. If the game actively will punish you by choosing a house, by not being able to do quests with that other house, in order for a person to 100%, truly 100%, and complete this game, and be fully satisfied with the content that they have available to them, they would need to actively play the game 4 times. At least 4 times. For each house. You'd need to have multiple saves. In those multiple saves, you would need to dedicate all that extra time. After dedicating all that extra time, you still have to spend that time doing extra shit that you wouldn't have planned for otherwise. After spending all that extra time that you didn't plan for otherwise to play the game, you have to learn all these fucking side quests frontwards and backwards, deal with the same empty universe 4 times over, which is 3 more than you really should have to, especially for a AAA title. Because this is one of those situations where, even though we like to mock game journalists, they would be completely fair if they said, bro, I couldn't actually experience all this game in a suitable amount of time. Because you can't! This game is more than 24 hours long. I doubt they would be able to get through half of the game, based on the way that game designers tend to, spoon feed them.
These coins must have come from this coffee's niffler.
The game design?
When I get my hands on that niffler.
I imagine that they would spend not enough time.
Revelio.
And they would be extremely likely to be dissatisfied. to the point of frustration. And I wouldn't be angry at them, to be honest.
Neither would I, to be fair. This game just, I don't know. It just feels, I don't know. I feel I picked Ravenclaw because I thought, oh, that would be cool. Not playing as one of them, like, narratively focused houses. That'd be cool. It might have some, like, you know, unique content that you can't get with the main houses, and it'd be fun to just play as like obviously someone who's narratively important in the game because the main character, but someone who's not part of the wider focus of the universe, and it doesn't seem to have any of that.
How tiring it can be to capture a Niffler.
Ultimately, I feel the game drops the ball in a way that can't truly be understood until you really spend more time getting to understand. I feel that whatever time they spent on the game was not enough. Not only does it feel half-baked, and not only does it feel underwhelming, it feels like it's a joke. Like the punchline has yet to be done.
Revelio.
And because of that, I'm still waiting for like the joke to come full circle. But it'll never come.
Revelio.
I'm looking at this area, and I keep seeing these dials, but I do not see where these dials are. This is one of those esoteric puzzles where I need to jump inside one of these cages. These cages are closed.
So basically, I've just had a bit of a funny moment there where I didn't realise that my character was wearing their pajamas because they'd just gone out of bed. And basically, I started a new quest, and Professor Fig basically just said, "Your outfit is most unseemly." And it was only just then that I realised I was wearing pajamas under my robe. That's pretty funny.
Wingardium Leviosa. Incendio.
Launch myself. Feels like I still have left unexplored places in the castle, but I don't see any other place I could go, despite seeing the treasure through the fucking floor.
Incendio. Revelio. Incendio.
Am I retarded? Am I missing something?
Revelio. Incendio.
Maybe I'm retarded. Maybe that's the problem.
Arrested momentum.
If only the world were that simple all the time. Maybe I'm just dumb. Because that looks like a bug. I don't think there's supposed to be two of these here.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Okay, that one's supposed to be there, but this one's not. So I literally did carry the item solution of another puzzle to a location it was not supposed to be. I suppose that's one way to, like, fucking solve the solution.
Wingardium Leviosa. Revelio.
Oh yeah, I brute forced the pass. Oh boy. Oh, I bugged the game badly. Holy shit. How the fuck do you even allow that to happen in the code? Oh my god! That's horrible!
Wingardium Leviosa.
I just broke all the fuck out of your game's fucking coding. And it is not funny.
Revelio. Wingardium
Somehow,
Leviosa.
in the infinite wisdom of the game designers, they made it possible for a person to be able to pull an item from a zone that it was not supposed to be near, to a zone that it was not supposed to be in, all the ways away from it in a way that does not make compartmental sense at all. It literally took a block puzzle from a puzzle in an earlier room section, and because the puzzle wasn't coded to be forced to stick inside the room where it was found, I was able to pull that item all the way over to another location, and after pulling it from that location, I was able to place it on a pedestal from another location. Thus fully circumventing the entire point of the puzzle in question, and thus removing the barrier of the game, but inadvertently bugging the rest of the map, on top of the map also taking an actual key necessary item away from you so that you're not actually able to do the thing in question.
Wingardium Leviosa.
It is a bit scary, the incompetency that was on display there. Both from myself, but the ingenuity that came with doing it in such a way that it broke the game completely, and that I didn't even expect it to. 'Cause here's these puzzles I was just talking about, right, chat? And that zone over there was there. I took that fire block and I carried it all the way over to over here.
Arrested momentum.
You have to arrest momentum those stones so they don't kidnap you.
Revelio.
That came over here. And I'm pretty sure that when I went to this area over here, there was no fire block. Because I don't remember there being a fire block. I left this zone, and thought to myself, oh yeah, see, if I Revelio, I can see inside the wall. So I just pulled this stone over and placed that stone here, which broke this door puzzle. Because this second one that appeared from nowhere, I don't know where the fuck it came from, but it didn't come from anywhere nearby here. How do you do that? That's like Bully Original Edition release dumb code.
Expelliarm Incendio.
That's like something you leave in accidentally as a bug in Icewind Dale 1. That's not something that should happen in the funnel game. My head hurts. Oh my god. All the rules I was taught and never do as a game designer, they're all being broken. They're all being broken. Why was your Twitter on private? Because I have two Twitters. You're probably talking about Caramel Cajun. Caramel Cajun is privated because it's my personal Twitter. My business Twitter is SinglePlayerCarl. Single digit 1, ST Player Carl. Both of them are listed in the description of all forward-going YouTube videos. But I'm making Caramel Cajun my private Twitter, because I'm basically going to be posting the same kind of shit that I'd be posting on my private Twitter, on my public Twitter. It's just going to be more likely that I can mold in peace on my private Twitter if I choose to do so. Realistically, in truth and honesty, what's going to happen with my with the private Twitter is that it's just going to become the place where I can be able to retweet my porn in peace, so that you don't have to worry about dicks and penises and drawn porn on your timelines. You're welcome. Unless you want to see that kind of debaucherous thing, at which point, why not just look at the fucking porn channel in the Discord? Oh lord. Musical map. I should seek its treasure. I don't think the game can justify having such a puzzle, because it feels shitty in some way. My question is, where is this map pointing me? Inland, on the castle, in the center of the map, there will be a bell tower with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bells. And it wants me to play a specific note progression. Chat, I'm gonna screen cap this. I'm gonna see if I'm not retarded. We're gonna find out together, chat. Is Carl able to read sheet music still, after 7 years of not performing professionally? Alright, chat, here we go.
I know what that means. Merlin trial.
map is incorrect. It should be right there. Fly, mushroom, fly!
Abandoned long ago, no doubt.
Yes, that's definitely the thing I want my character to say while I have the view of her from the backside. Oh, the jokes that we could make. The jokes we could make, chat room. The jokes we could make. Ooh, troll. This is the exact center of the map. Where is that bell tower? Are you that bell tower?
Revelio.
Don't have time for this. Someone's here.
Your blood's on Ranrock's hands.
Maybe it's this giant fucking castle that flew by a couple times.
Revelio.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
It's here.
You should go about stealing goblins.
I've used the dark arts several times. Can't understand why more don't. They're remarkable.
This looks like the spot from the treasure.
I know you're the one who stole our secret. We've been looking for you. I've seen you, Jewel. You're You want to defend yourself? Money, my friend.
Petrificus totalis!
A storm is coming.
Petrificus totalis!
You won't knock this one loose, and I've got time if I were you. I've seen your map, and got my eye on a few nearby hamlets. They're in more danger than...
It's getting slightly better. My X key is still sticking. I think the game did. It's my fucking controller being shit. It's not even a knockoff controller. It's an actual fucking Xbox 360 PC controller. And it still feels like I bought a fucking controller from the fucking Walmart. And yet those Walmart controllers, despite the fact that they can't really play anything past a PlayStation 3 era video game, some of the best shit you could buy. Easiest $10 you could ever spend for emulation, boys.
Might be time for a new one.
I feel like if I have to buy another one, I need to wait. Because, like, I know how to fix it. I'm just lazy and very, very evasive to opening my controller up. Because these dumbasses used, what's the word? It's the P word. Proprietary screws for the controllers. And I'm not sure if my basic default screwdriver has the necessary security screw bit. I can always check, but I just don't want to put anything into it because I know that if I have to unscrew it, it's going to be very hard to put back together.
Revelio.
Alright, here's the bell. Because if anything, it's probably a consequence of my controller hitting the ground. Because I'm not throwing it anywhere, it's just I sit it on top of the tower. And the tower is on a metal stand that is risen off the floor by a little metal riser that is basically designed to be like a desk. Metal wireframe thing. It's sitting high enough on the floor that it doesn't collect dust, but it's low enough to the floor where since the controller is not sitting on like a proper station of anything, it can drop off the top of the tower if my leg catches the cord. Alright, note progression. There we go, chat. See if Carl's smart. First note, third note, fifth note, fourth note, third note, top note, second top note, mid note. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, good, it even has a reference bar. That's nice of them.
Perhaps the map contains clues about the order I'm supposed to ring the bells in.
That's the first bar. It could have done better with the illustration of this drawing.
Revelio.
It's actually really hard to tell. The fact that this thing doesn't light up and glow on the wall actually makes this part of the quest actually very hard. Definitely an undersight. Maybe I'm hitting the wrong bell to begin with anyways.
Perhaps the map contains clues about the order I'm supposed to ring the bells in.
That doesn't feel right.
Perhaps the map contains clues about the order I'm supposed to ring the bells in.
It's a bit iffy towards the center of the bar. Because they made it to seem like it's part of it, but the problem is that these two bell lines makes it seem like these 3 note bells here are incorrect bell notes.
Okay, what's the deal with these door puzzles? Because I'm not getting it.
Do they have what looks like creatures on them?
Yeah.
They're numerology puzzles. The puzzle is listed from numeral 0 to 9, from the left side of the door to the right side of the door. And they're addition puzzles.
Right, okay.
Space down.
That did it.
Okay, that's fair. I will let them have that because they basically have you play the Hogwarts theme.
And look, treasure.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's a side quest that I'd be proud of, because that's not really a side quest, that's a gag. Because the Hogwarts theme is only a Hogwarts theme because we associate that with Harry Potter.
You come to the wrong. Flash of inspiration. Notice you ain't wearing that goblin helmet you stole. It's Nora Treadwell's little saviour.
Back in the fight.
Such a thing to me. Takes gumption to steal a stolen hippogriff. Because he's a coward as well. Yeah,
Revelio.
Where's the one? Where's my reward chest, bitch?
So we're all me lads in Rookwood times is glad.
And no one to share in my victory. Trouble's brewing, and I'm without my friends. Revelio.
I don't see where this fucking thing is unless I already have this chest in the first place. I think I have this chest already? Can't tell, the game keeps just forcing me back to the normal window. Okay. Yes, I heard you the first time. I have 1 out of 2. So where's the other one?
Revelio.
Perhaps it's back at the other tents. And I passed them by, and this icon just represents the entire area. Yes, I did. It's right here in front of me. Again, I'm getting trait 1 spells in an area where I already have some 3s. That's another thing that's really annoying. The opposite understanding of what your maps are meant to be. Why in zones that are further away from the center of the map am I finding level 1 traits to put into my gear when I should definitely be finding things that are bigger than that? I know I've completed about that on another stream though. Travel and collect these spells before I go do these other quests and continue the main quest line. Because I'm gonna be honest, chat room. If I had to be asked to complete the game, I feel like I'd be willing to drop Hogwarts Legacy. Because it doesn't feel like it's worth finding out. And it's not even like, oh, well, we don't have a desire to find out because the game's been spoiled. That's not even that.
Who lives here? My poor Rococo. Miss Coffee, I found your Niffler. How's my sweet Rococo?
Of course you can.
I'm sure he'll be happy. He will. Oh, my brave little... Oh, I can't wait to get him. From now on, I'll keep Rococo on a lead whenever we go out. Thank you for stopping by.
Where's that quest done? All that shit for a fucking hat. She's in the Forbidden Forest. Where is she? All the way at Hogwarts Bridge. What is standing out to you in your gameplay? The most notable thing that's standing out to you as you play the game?
That it's somewhat of between main quests, it basically devolves into a collectathon. Like it's like, and don't get me wrong, collectathons can be fun, but this just isn't. It's just busy work. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it does feel just like one big collectathon.
Yes. I feel that it's a consequence of how they made the field guide pages, but I'm not going to say that it's solely that, because it feels like that very much throughout the entirety of your time exploring the area of the castles. In the beginning of the game, when it first gives you the field guide, and it tells you to go around the castle, collecting field guides, and it gives you a little pop-up in the corner, because my pop-up's already ended because I found so many field guides that it already gave me the reward for Hogwarts, and there's still more shit to find in the Hogwarts castle. That's a side effect of them having a lot of places in the castle that you can't go, like the common rooms.
I have been meaning to
Which,
speak with
if you can't go into the common rooms of the other houses, why the fuck do they even load into the game? Why is it just not like what already happens? Like, you can't get into their common rooms, and that part of the map just stops existing. It doesn't take that much to load 4 different versions of the castle, based on whatever save file that you're playing. But you go and you look at the challenge menu, you write off the room of requirements, because the challenges, air quote, of the room requirement aren't really challenges. You go there, and you look at everything that is for the challenges, excluding the room requirement. The field guide page is literally collect field guide pages in Hogsmeade. Collect 25. Collect field guide pages in Hogwarts. Collect 50. Collect field guide pages in the Highlands. Collect 16. Those are the maximum values. And of course there's other values as well. You have to collect a total of, let's see here, 2, 8, 15, 25, and 50. So a little under 100 total for Hogwarts Castle. But then once you actually get all the things in Hogwarts Castle, it doesn't matter. It literally stops tracking it. This is the same for every other challenge, especially the exploration challenges. The Magic Traces stops tracking after 2 plus 6 plus 12, which 12 plus 8 is 20. So you have to find 20 magical traces, get a total of 3 extra parts of the ancient magic meter, which means, ooh, I get an extra 3 bars to burn. Hee hee hee. That isn't. It's significant in a gameplay sense, but it doesn't feel special. And here's popping balloons. It's literally cosmetics. Literally the broom appearance cosmetics. So why would you care? The brooms don't have any special bonus to them unless you do the broom side quests. Then they don't matter. Landing pads. Cosmetic items. Merlin trials. The only ones that I actually cared to finish that had me opening and going to early places in the game. You have to do, let's see here, 20 plus 14 plus 10 plus 6 plus 2 total Merlin trials. And you get 4 slots of additional increased storage for your gear for a total of 5 upgrades, meaning it doubles your inventory space for the gear you start with from 20 to 40. I'm gonna be dead ass. 20 extra storage spaces in a game like Borderlands 4, if that ever, well, technically Borderlands 4 is just Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That's what that is.
Like, and here's the thing. The opening to this game is actually really promising in how it's presented. Like, if you understand Harry Potter, understand Harry Potter lore and how it works, like, a guy getting eaten in a dragon mid-flight, by a dragon mid-flight, and then the Thestrals just appearing in front of you immediately afterwards. Like, if you understand the mechanics of Thestrals, that's fucking raw. Like, that genuinely made me, like, I was genuinely impressed by that, like, tiny attention to detail in that cutscene, because I was thinking, yeah, he's just witnessed someone die, and the Thestrals immediately just materialize in front of him. It was just like, oh, it's like, yeah, I'm glad they actually paid attention to that, and that's actually a really cool, but also really morbid detail that they added to the game.
I've been meaning to speak with you.
Like, when I opened the game and I saw that happen, I'm like, oh, this is Harry Potter Saints Row. Like, not Saints Row 4, Saints Row Gat Out of Hell. This is Saints Row 1 through 3. I'm playing Harry Potter Saints Row. This is gonna get real! And then I started feeling the rest of the game, and I'm like, I've been cheated and lied to. Straight up.
I still can't believe we escaped the Ashwinders.
You may not realize it, but you are the talk of...
I wonder how everyone...
I told my mother in the hope that she would be more forgiving of what... She likely told...
I stand by that being a genuinely, like, regardless of the rest of the game, I stand by that being a genuinely good cutscene.
What I've done, she would
It's
never
an
let me out
extremely
of her
powerful
sight
cutscene
again.
that sets up
sorry.
the beginning of the emotional
Has
stakes of the
Officer Singer
game.
done anything with the evidence we provided?
She has not.
Like, the first
If
hour
someone
of the
stopped the losses
game,
like him in Matter
like,
Arena,
it genuinely feels like something entirely
It was a
different to
beautiful
what's
day.
going on now.
My mother...
Galloping. Your father was also...
Like, yeah, I get it, the tutorial bits are tad, like, generic again because of the lack of spell diversity.
Surprised a group of...
But
One of them saw me, just as he removed us.
He didn't want you to identify...
Exactly. In an instant, my father bowed his neck to protect
Like, it does everything it's
Fine.
supposed to.
My father changed back into
It
his
doesn't
human,
try
and
too
then he was
hard.
gone.
It doesn't try to pack
No.
too much stuff into too
He
short amount
died
of time.
protecting me.
And
My
it
mother and I tried to
works
go- a few
really
years
well.
later.
I'm sorry, Nat.
He was. We all have our burdens.
Yes, I remember.
So I don't know. I just felt
Soon
like
you and I will put an end to the ash.
it started off on a high, and then it became a whole bunch of wasted potential.
And we will succeed.
Like,
Thank you
there's
again
plenty
for
of shit that
saving
could
me.
become memeable
You
in the
deserve
game.
all of the
Like,
praise you have.
Wagadu on its own is memeable enough. If you haven't gotten to Wagadu yet, trust me. Natsai Onai, which that feels like that feels like a joke name, even more than Sarona Ryan. Natsai Onai, or otherwise as the game nicknames her, Natty, is a character where it's like everybody's gonna be simping over this African girl from Matabele land, which, as I've had established to me by Aiden, is indeed a place that is a part of, I think it's Zimbabwe.
Handy resource indeed, your field guide.
No, not Zimbabwe. I'm trying to remember. It's the Echidna meme. Fuck, why can't I remember the name of the goddamn thing again? So what happens when I play video games? Information starts leaving my head because I don't need it. Chat, help. Chat, help. What is the country name? What was the picture of the map? I figured it out. Looking forward to someone playing the future on opening to the bells. I mean, I imagine somebody could. They are fully functional bells, so they could. Uganda. Matabele land is an actual place in Uganda. So, like, this character, and the fact that people are receiving her well, the same way that people are receiving the wellness of the real one, Sebastian Shallow, I expect Sebastian and I expect Natty to get fan art of them. Both fan art and fan art! Because there's plenty of people who are making quote-unquote content around the game. But realistically, if you were to go onto TikTok and actually look at the content, quote-unquote, it's less people are making content around the game, and they're making jokes about the world of the game. Like, I know you've seen it because I've featured some of it, but people making jokes like the black historical college dorm rooms of Harry Potter, where black people just took over the entire idea of Hogwarts because the progressives are basically standing behind them as they do so. I think there's more black people who are doing it specifically because they want to have fun. And in having fun, progressives are like, oh my god, enjoy, I can't control any of it! I stand the proud black men and women! And it's like, motherfucker, this is not about that. This is about black people being ignorant on the internet. So like, the entire joke that Slytherins throw lit parties, that Hufflepuffs are consummate weed smokers and grow their own strand of Wizard Za, that Ravenclaws throw some of the wildest fucking grunge, techno, disco, dirty, dark synthcore parties, and that Gryffindors are just fucking squares that want to do like drinking parties, or the black HBCU connection, which is them coming up with blackened names to call all of the houses, and African Americans doing fucking stepcore. All of that is something I'd expect to keep the game, like, artificially alive in the meme sense. But in the game sense, I don't see any way that persons are going to be able to make a fun, like, meme out of the game, other than the fact that the game exists. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I'm not feeling a lot of what they're doing. And for the things that I do like, there's not enough of it to justify everything else. Although I feel like the Room of Requirement deserves a little bit of a break, because the Room of Requirement is an entire thing unto itself, and it shouldn't be dragged down with any opinion that the game will earn for itself for being bad. because
Well, the rumor requirement as a concept needs to be stripped down in order to fit in a game.
yes,
Because the whole point of the rumor requirement is that it's a MacGuffin. It will literally create anything that you need. So, like, you need to put limitations on it for it to work within the confines of the game with mechanics.
yes, and it's like I don't mind it being the place that basically works as your apothecary station. It's what it's designed for. You go here when you need to craft potions and when you need to collect materials from your pets. I call them pets, but from the beasts, which then get used in the creation loop of upgrading your equipment. But if the game has a max level, eventually there is a point at which that does not matter. And so now the question becomes, how do you get access to the materials that you need for the highest forms of upgrade, if what you're looking for is the best, quote-unquote, gear to have? Because, like, I just unlocked some gear just now that was sold off, because I sold off everything that wasn't legendary. And I'm going to look at the gear that I have equipped, and I'm going to see if it has higher stats comparative to what I have on my base. So, I'm looking at the stats right now. Because of the fact that I have offense on the rest of my gloves, if I were to take these gloves off, I'd be losing not much in terms of anything. Like, my offense, my base offense, only goes up by 1 point. And because I have upgrades on the other piece of equipment, my defense would drop by the amount of defense that is on that particular item. My items probably can't get any better than they already are. So at this point, the only difference to my items that I could do is cosmetically. They're not all fully upgraded yet, but the only reason they're not fully upgraded yet is that one of the materials I'm missing is Phoenix Feather. And I can't find where to get the Phoenix from. And once I have that upgrade, the defense will go from 18 points to 36 points on each piece of gear that can be upgraded defensively. Because the offense gear is already maxed, and it's at its 36. So you can't get any stronger than what you already are. It's not possible once you have legendary level gear. And yet, the room requirement as a concept, because I don't think it's going to expand anymore. I think it only has these 3 branching rooms for the vivariums. But when you first get the first vivarium...
Thinks you should be proud of
Did I
all
just
the
trap
potions
myself?
you've brewed.
I did not. Okay. Maybe I did. Oh no.
Yeah, that's the
got
thing. The thing is, though, is that Hogwarts Legacy has this. It just has this huge, like. It has the skeleton of a good game. It has this skeleton of a good game. It just hasn't got the meat. It hasn't got the flesh.
Yeah. I think that's really the long and short of it, if I had to write a review. Like, remove the rumor requirement from any kind of criticism you could make about the game, and the game is basically Anthem. The game was featured as this giant open world that you could become a part of and tell your legacy and your tale, even if there is a main side quest that you're supposed to learn. And despite anything that you do in the game, the story is not compelling enough to really get you over the line. It doesn't have enough to get you over the line. The things that are there, if you connect to it, you can find enjoyment in it, and most people are finding enjoyment in the combat. But if you're dumb enough, and I say dumb enough, because I don't see a person who would decide, ooh, dark arts, I'm gonna use Avada Kedavra Mastery to kill all enemies that I've cursed. Because at that point, you simplify combat to the point of, okay, what spells can be able to tag enemies? Protego can tag enemies, Expelliarmus can tag enemies, Flipendo can tag enemies, Enduring Curse will allow me to curse an enemy for a longer period of time, Slowing Curse can tag enemies, Imperio Mastery, if an enemy hits other enemies while mind-controlled, he'll tag enemies. When I strike somebody with the basic spell combo with Crucio, it releases a projectile that then immediately curses other people, and then I get Curse Sapper, that gives me the ability to heal some of my restored health when I kill somebody who's been cursed, combine that with Avada Kedavra, and I just tag, Avada Kedavra, psh! And then just everything dies. If you end up simplifying combat to the point where that's what you do, every single combat, you're gonna get bored of combat. So if the combat's shit, and the world is empty, and you can't explore it early at all, which is where most of your fun is going to come from, exploring the world and going to places that you definitely know you shouldn't be in. Kind of like Elden Ring, in this sense. Technically, all Dark Souls games had this idea of, I know this enemy is stronger than me, but I want to know if I can beat your ass! When the entire game loop isn't about, I just need to learn your opening, but it's instead, I literally cannot fight this enemy well because I lack the fundamental spell I need to fight him because I haven't unlocked all of my assignment quests yet. When that is what the game loop is, and you have to pay for the ability to have multiple talent wheels so that you can have multiple spell wheels, it makes your combat lackluster. It makes the world empty. Of the parts of the world you can explore, it makes it very much baby's first MMORPG. Because it feels like baby's first MMORPG and the game hasn't given you the permission to explore the open world, you are put onto a railroad track that takes you from quest line to quest line, because the game didn't decide that you have permission to explore the world yet. Then when the world gives you the permission to explore the world, and when I say the permission to explore, I'm not talking about Final Fantasy, ooh, I haven't gotten the magical elven key yet. I'm not talking about the Dragon Quest, let's use the comparative S11, ooh, I haven't gotten this particular item, or I haven't gotten the ability to travel across the world on the dragon yet. No, I'm not talking about that. The game physically said, this door will not open until you get to this quest, where we will then give you the permission to explore this place that you've already found. When the game tells you you're not allowed to go here until we decide, you then become bored. That boredom then informs your negative opinions, because when you start not being allowed to go do other things, you start paying attention to the shit that you're not being able to do and how little fun you're having. Then it starts amplifying your negative emotions. And then once you start that loop, it's all downhill from there. In short, it just sucks. Which I know I've said it already, but you don't realize how much it sucks until you start getting in. If he's noticing it from the start, bro, imagine how all the other streamers must have been like. And I don't mean the streamers that were buying the game out of spite. I mean all the people on the left, all of those bread tubers, all of those unconnected, disjointed, I don't like calling them nobodies. I'm not talking about the crumb tubers. I'm talking about actual people who just happen to have left-leaning opinions, who were being harassed for playing the game on Twitch of all places. Imagine, or if you could, girlfriend reviews. They get to the point where they realize the game's shit. Hey babe, I'm sorry that I kept playing the game after the jackasses in the chat room decided to come harass you, and it literally wasn't worth it. You just want to kick me in the balls? Like, I feel like you should kick me in my balls. Imagine Hassan sitting in his privacy where it's like, really? The game sucks too? Man, I could have been able to make so much money off the controversy if I just done it. Vosh, same thing. Keffels, same thing, but the based transposition, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be, ever since being revealed to be not only a fucking junkie, just like Nervosa. That's not cap. That's actual truth, guys. Where do you think the money went? Up your nose! After playing in the different kind of white snow. Any individual that could be considered left-wing or left-wing adjacent, imagine their disgust with how little fun they're having after they realize the game sucks and they got politically harassed. And the political harassment news was bad for them. Much like all the trans individuals that claimed, oh my god, all this trans hate against us. Because, you know, trans hate's what is what happens when people dislike a video game, or when people dislike people being annoyed playing a video game. Imagine all those individuals who threw a pitch fit saying this game is going to lead to trans deaths, trans suicides. Imagine all those people realizing that they ruined either one, people's fun for nothing, or two, the game was bad anyways, and they let a mediocre game, if not just a either half-baked game, and And it depends on whether or not you say or think that Troy Levitt was the linchpin here. Like, imagine if there had been no controversy, and if Troy Levitt was allowed to continue working on the game in peace, while also dealing with all the things that come with being the lead developer for the game, and he wasn't made to leave the project halfway through, and he was able to stay from the beginning of its inception all the way until it was fully done. If this is the result of what happens because you attacked a man for the crime of disagreeing with Anita Sarkeesian, that means the people who were throwing a bitch fit about the game are responsible for the game being dog shit on an internal gameplay basis, and for the game making a lot of money despite being dog shit, so that they can be able to work on a new sequel. Because I imagine if they're working on a sequel right now, and the game was just released last month, that had to be a, okay, we know we just put out a stinker. We're gonna do this again, and we're gonna get it right this time. So, whenever the fuck that game comes out, put it on the fucking calendar, because we have to compare and contrast. I'm curious. I have to know, what does a complete, fully formed idea of a game become when it's not interrupted by cancel culture? But besides that, the game as is, delivered right in front of us, all those fucking articles written about the game being transphobic, misogynistic, I can't believe the JK got away with it again, and yet 10, 10, 10, it's like the meme from Snowfall, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, every single one of you guys, despite a full-throated apology for playing the game, but it's a 10? It's a 10? Are you serious? Dead ass, my guy? This is 10 to you. I'm gonna look at him right now. Hold on. I'm gonna pull him up right now, guys. Zimbabwe?
Well, that's the thing. I am not convinced that like, any of the people who truly like, here's the thing. If you just, like, have never liked Harry Potter, fair enough. I'm not convinced that any of the people who, like, grew up liking Harry Potter and now don't like it for activist reasons actually just like Harry Potter. Like, they like, these are the people, when they're at home, they still read the books, they still watch the movies, they still play all the consume all the content, because they're all consumers as well. They're all massive consumers, but they just don't do it. They just don't care. Like, but they'll make us think about it. But at the same time, they're more than willing to make J.K. Rowling rich because they can't resist the urge to consume.
Okay, chat. I'm throwing this up on the screen. We're gonna look at this together. Turn the gain off. I've played enough for now. We're gonna look at this. This is now a review stream. Okay? On my end of things, at least. He's going to continue playing the game. We're going to look at this. Okay? Recording screen. Make sure I don't have the window up that I had porn on. I'm joking. Why would I ever allow my porn to ever be on screen? You guys couldn't watch the shit I watch. Your minds would fry. Now, here's the joke. Am I joking or am I being dead-ass serious? Alright. So, right now I'm looking at Metacritic. Metacritic is just one site, so I already have some of them open. Let's roll through them. Technically, I could just look on Google, but let's see if they have a number review at the end of their articles. So, GameSpot, 6. IGN, 9. Hogwarts Legacy on Metacritic, 84 Metascore review with a user score review of 8.8. Wired, I believe theirs is the only -1 that I saw. Even the lead title on it from Jana Gray. The game is mid at best and its real-world harms are impossible to ignore. But I believe this said that its review here for the game is a literal 1 for Wired. It's saying 1 out of 10, so yes. So let's list that. 6, 9. Let's call that a high 8. A high 8, if not a 9. Because the meta score of 84 makes me want to say that it's just an 8. But let's go with an 8.5. 8.5. 1 and scathing review of JK. Polygon using the exact same shit, because of course it was written by Gina Jackson. Why wouldn't it have been written by the ghost of fucking Jason Schreier past? Why wouldn't it? See here, where's your fucking score, Jita? Where's your score, Jita? You don't even have a numbered score? Really? You don't even have a numbered score. Girl, what is wrong with you? I don't care about your writing. What does this say that it listed it as? They don't even have a score for Polygon. Oh my god. RogerEbert.com. Because apparently Roger Ebert not only reviews movies, but now movie video games. It's not a really big deal.
I remember seeing an article where from before it released saying we can't judge Hogwarts Legacy on its own merits. I was just like, because I did a video on the backlash, and that was one of the ones I read through, and it annoyed me because of how idiotic the take was. But also, it's the fact that even if you do judge it on its own merits, it's not a very good game. So even if you're determined to hate the game, even if you are determined to hate the game, it's not difficult. The game has a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. It'd make your job easier if the game had a lot of things to complain about, because then you can go on and say, and see, this was why the game's efforts of having a campaign was wasted. People wasted their money on this video game because blah, 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 agenda. But it would also help them because then there's not many people who would argue against them. It's like using the veto method, describing and discussing anything to anyone. It's like, oh, the only reason why you like the game is because you're politically against everybody. It's like, no, I think the game's bad. Are you sure? Because realistically, J.K. Rowling, like, bro, the game is dog shit. I don't need to justify anything else other than that. I did not have fun playing the game. I did not enjoy this. I would not play it again. I would not buy it again. Even if the game was bought for me, I would not buy this game again. I don't know why you're so fucking in need to hate this game with a raging hot boner. But you can just say that it was all for nothing. Bro, I didn't harass the streamers. I didn't harass the VTubers. I didn't get a girl fucking fired from her job, and I didn't make her quit doing all this shit. I played a video game. The video game I played was fucking ass, bro. The video game I played was fucking ass, bro. I don't give a shit. It's so easy to just immediately write it off, because it would, and Roger Ebert doesn't have a score. But I'm going to rate it as a not listed, because I don't think Google has a number for it. No, this one also doesn't have a number for its rating.
Also, I think one of the biggest problems in the game isn't due to the game itself. It's due to the fact that video game devs won't compress their files.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact they refuse to compress their files. It's the fact that if you don't have a computer made by God himself, like half the time when you walk into a door, you'll just slam into the door. You'll slam into the door, and then you'll get a loading thing for like 2-3 seconds, and then you'll walk through the door. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it so it just takes you out of the illusion of being in this world, because you just know that is there specifically to allow the game time to load the next area of the game, and you're just like, that's just dog shit. There wasn't like. I played Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the movie time video game, in 2007 on the Wii, and that was able to load in a fully fleshed out Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry without any loading screens whatsoever between parts of the castle or anything like that. In 2007 on the Wii.
There is actually a very well-known comparison test, and it's the Jak and Daxter comparison. Jak and Daxter 1. We don't apply this to Jak and Daxter 2 and 3, because Jak and Daxter 2 and 3 technically use the exact same loading zone trick, which is you'll hide the loading zone in elevators. But Jak and Daxter 1, the entire map itself is traversable and is legible from anywhere on the screen in the world. Everything is fully loaded. Everything is there. It is actually interactable no matter where you are on the map. It's just a question of whether or not the physical actor zone objects. The physical objects that define that an object is in the world is actually triggered based on where you are in it. And of course, hiding the loading zone inside of elevators. But you never see an icon that says, now loading, now loading. You never get any of that shit. It is never a case example of you playing a video game like Crash Bandicoot 3. Or Crash Bandicoot, well, technically, Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 were elements of their time. If they had loading zones, it was like a small little pause before an in-game CMZ movie played. But I'm thinking of Wrath of Cortex, where the game actively has a loading screen for you to go between stage to stage, with you falling in an infinite fucking abyss. The ability for a AAA game to be developed is that you're supposed to have already used all of these tricks of the trade necessary to be able to hide these things. So there's no excuse why in a Wizarding World, I'm not seeing a magical flourish that happens over a door that is the actual substitute for a door being open and locked. When I approach an area, like the way that you approach the different common rooms, I think Slytherin's is the best. The way that the actual wall itself isn't there, and then the little snake that creates the door frame arc comes into view and opens the door, that is technically a loading zone. The game is loading the common room, but you would never tell, because oh my god, magical snake! Same thing with Ravenclaw. The fucking, it doesn't ask you all the time because it's only there for the cutscene, but the fact that it physically will move once you've answered the fucking puzzle, and for every other common house it just doesn't open. For the Hufflepuff, it will squirt you with vinegar, but for everybody else they can go into the common room proper. For the Gryffindor common room, that the portrait lady will actively insult you and tell you to leave. All of these things are loading zone triggers that are easy to code. So if you can do it in the castle, you can do it everywhere else in the map. And yet, in the places where it matters, like the revolving staircase, which I think is the closest to Ravenclaw, because I think Ravenclaw is actually somewhere near the trophy room, unless I'm just stupid and I don't know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Otherwise, ignore me. But the grand staircase, the moving staircase, even though you can't actually fall down the staircase in the game, it should have the precarious idea of, oh, you need to actually pay attention and time where you're going, otherwise you might become a really bad magical OSHA violation. It should have a feeling of that. And every single time it loads a new staircase, it's just loading the next section of the map upwards because they're loaded in quadrants. And you aren't in that quadrant yet until you're at the loading zone for the next quadrant. These are basic, literal, 101, 102, 103 game track design course fundamental basics. You learn it at the same time you learn how to design in Adobe Blender and After Effects. There's no excuse. None. And I'm looking at PC Gamer, and PC Gamer's review score is a, where is it? 83. So we're going to call that a hard 8. And Steam's, I don't think Steam does anything other than just very positive reviews, but all the reviews claim very positive. 93% of the 129,593, so a little under 130,000 user reviews are positive. We're going to call that a low A. So we're going to rate that as a 9. So we have 6, 9, 8.5, no review score and a scathing review of JK, no review score and a scathing review of JK, no review score for Polygon and a scathing review of JK, where Gita Jackson bitches about the ethics of being a fucking rich person, an 83 from PC Gamer, and a 93 from Steam. And then I also have Open Critic here, PC Gamer Top Critic, 83. Let's see here, just going down this, because I think Open Critic is a lot better at this, because I think it has all the ones in front of me. So we have PC Gamer at 83, we have IGN at 9, we have Games Radar Plus at a 3.5 stars out of 5, so let's extrapolate that. That's, 3 multiplied by 2, that's 6.5, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 6 out of 10, unscored from Gita Jackson. Yeah, this is all the scores put together. I'm gonna make sure to save this next time I need it. But 6 out of 10, an unscored from Gita Jackson and bitching about the fucking game. 6 from Game Revolution, 7 from Destructoid, 9.7 from Eres Roganes, which is that's a Spanish one. That's a Spanish reviewer. The 6 Axis, I don't know what the fuck the 6 Axis is, but okay, whatever. 7 out of 10. Hobby Consolas, that's also another Spanish reviewer group. 90, IGN Spain. 9, IGN Italy. 9.2, God is a Geek. Who the fuck is God is a Geek? Doesn't even matter. 9 out of 10. Attack of the Fanboy, Noah Nelson. 4.5 out of 10, so that's basically a high 9 out of 10. If not a low 8, high 9. Gaming Trend, 95. Game Rant, 4.5 out of 10. Telegraph, 3 out of 5. Rebecca Spear, I say 3 out of 10, I mean, like, this is 4 out of 5 stars, so, like, 9. This is a 3 out of 5, so that's, like, a fucking 6 or a 7. Windows Central, 4.5 stars out of 5. Guardian, 3 stars. Top Critic for Game Mag, 7 out of 10. ZTGD, 8.5. COG Connected, 95. PC Invasion, 9 out of 10. Gaming Nexus, 9.5. M3, 4 out of 5. Games Machine, 8.5 out of 10. Top Critic, unscored, but a high review. True Achievements, 9. I'm going to start just reading off the scores, guys. 9, 8, 9.5, 7, 3 out of 5, 4, 8, a low, like, 5, 89, 93, 9 to 10. I'm just going to read what I just saw here off the screen because it actually caught my eye from its full review title. Hogwarts Legacy will likely please diehard Harry Potter fans, but its tired open-world design lacks imagination. That is very true. 93 out of 10. Not even a fucking link to a score, just a link directly to a video review saying bye. Game Lifestyle, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 4 out of 5 stars, 8.5. These scores, any of these scores that are anywhere north of a 6 or 5, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is actually wrong with you? Hello, Super Cappy. How you doing, baby? What the fuck is actually wrong with you? You're scoring this game as supposedly Game of the Year material? This is Game of the Year material to you? Are you dead ass, my guy? Are you dead ass, fam? Who paid you? Who paid you? Because they didn't pay you enough. Demand more. Demand more. Demand a blowjob. Demand an orgasm. Female writers. You get scammed. If you gave this shit a 9 and the best they did is they gave you a review copy for the game, you need more. They need to wine you. They need to dine you. They need to bang your fucking brains out. Because I cannot imagine any world where you would not be shooting your brains out, playing the game, and trying to justify to yourself how this is excusable. If you're a diehard Harry Potter fan, and you just wanted to be like, oh, I finally get to explore the world of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I was expecting this game the entire time. I already did my test and my quiz and everything. I've got a unicorn coral elder wand. What did you get? If that's you, there was nothing that was going to change your mind. That's just fact. If you're one of those Universal Park fucking Disney Bounder-esque people, but for Universal Parks because you like to dress up as the shit and do all the shit or what the fuck ever, and you were going there to drink your fucking stale butterbeers, there's nothing that could have been done to change your mind. You were always going to play it at least once. At least once. But 4 houses with 4 unique quest lines for each? Are you willing to play this game 4 times, my guy? Are you willing to play this game 4 times, my guy? 4 times? 4 times. 100% completion? Every save file? No, you're capping. Impossible. Cap! Cap! Full cap! I don't believe it. Can't believe it. Refuse! Oil! It's happening. Either someone's fucking lying, or we're all having a joint delusion. That's the food. They gotta get that. You have a tip for them? Do you have a tip for them? Already paid for. So yeah, that's my opinion. I guess my better, more informed opinion of the game. I'm still going to play it to completion, just probably not on stream. If I do play it on stream, I'll be doing it unannounced. Because there are people who have been demanding, Carl, when are we gonna see Atomic Hearts? When are we gonna play the Russian game with the booby robots? When are you gonna play those games, Carl? Carl. Just disappointed, ultimately. I'm not even upset. How could I be upset? I didn't pay money for the game. But I am disappointed. I am very disappointed. Because having played the games that he's made before, I know Troy Levitt leading a team can do better than this. Like, there's so many outside factors that affect the proper review of the game that you can't blame the team. You actively cannot blame Avalanche. That's the worst part. And nobody's talked about that. I mean, Atomic Heart started out as a movie project that was made into a video game, so this is going to be more in line with the kind of movie games that we expect from people who like to cheer on things like The Last of Us. Like, it's going to be more in line with one of those, which should be a game that is worthy of time, if not for the very least of experiencing the story. So I'd be expecting an experience similar to that of Dead Space, like the original Dead Space. Outwards of that, the greatest issue with the reviewing of the game is you can't fault the designers for making a bad game. You can't say the same thing about Hogwarts Legacy that I can say about Forspoken. Because Forspoken is a game that came from the kind of studio that had multiple opportunities to demonstrate that the system that they were working with could be used for good visuals, but ultimately collectively delivered a subpar, mediocre game that closed the studio that released it. And the only other game that it was released with, for those of you in my audience that are crossovers from Dev's audience, was the Final Fantasy XIII series. The Nova Crystallis series of what is effectively the sub-universe of Final Fantasy. The one that is all about crystals. Crystal everything. I remember the way that it translates, and I forget if it's actual Latin or not. It's the stories that are the tale of the new crystal. Everything in Final Fantasy 13. 13.1, 13.2, Lightning Returns, which is technically the third game, which I actually liked Lightning Returns, but I'm a freak that likes video games like that. That game series demonstrated the lack of potential that was exuberated when they actually simplified the game down in Lightning Returns the way that it should have been simplified down in Final Fantasy 13 and 2. But it wasn't. Because they were trying to tell this grandiose, epic, multi-part trilogy game to try and recapture the essence of what made multi-game quadrilogies like that of Dot Hack Sign possible. Whether it be GU from Tricode, or the original Dot Hack Sign quadrilogy from the PS2, they were trying to invoke that sense. And the problem is that you can't invoke that kind of world building, and you can't invoke that kind of design, because the modern video game audience is not prepared for it. 13.3 didn't necessarily have so much a job system as it had an alternative swap system. So imagine like equipable materia in the form of clothes. It was that. That was the game. Since we're not even looking at the game at this point, we're just gonna look at materials here. I just need to change the category on Twitch. Excuse me? Wally, thank you. They are my curtains. They're not anything from my nephew. These are my curtains from my old bedroom. But let's just look up some gameplay footage of Lightning Returns.
You got chutzpah to spare. I'll give you that.
Here for the train? No. Look like one of those. Look like one of.
It's like listening to 1,000 different voices. We also saw your sister head out on the journey.
I'm trying to catch them in combat. Here we go.
Let's do it, Fang!
Don't get in my way.
You capture? So that's the gameplay. You're basically constantly swapping these preset materia classes that have unique abilities on them. This game loop, by itself, the way it was designed for this game, actually works so much better than the way they did combat in the first two games. And that was supposed to be the peak of what that system had provided until Forspoken came about. So, like, this gameplay loop is much more engaging than that of Hogwarts Legacy. Because there's an overworld. You can explore the overworld. The game actually rewards you for challenging the bosses at different times during the game's internal time loop. Not only does the game reward you for doing it in the internal time loop, but you can also reset time, go back, and experience other quests in a different order. I think on the first loop, you are probably actually pressed to do everything in a proper amount of time. You can, of course, find ways to, like, freeze time permanently in combat using the chrono shift setup, which is intended. But I'm trying to remember if you actually have the freedom to free reset until before New Game Plus. I don't think you do. But you can always be able to get the ultimate weapon, because the ultimate weapon is based upon you doing a certain amount of quests, I believe. Because the ultimate layer can't actually be entered until New Game Plus, because of the fact that you actually need to get the extra day, and you can only get the extra day if you do all the quests. All the quests. There's like one quest that has an alternate storyline where you have to take one of the choices in your first playthrough because you can only get the second one in the second playthrough. People who've played the game knows what quest I'm talking about. Like, this game, actually a good game. It has the framework of a good game. It's just that people hated it because it was Final Fantasy 13. And yet, this game, miles beyond Hogwarts. But you can't rag this game, because this game was viable and desirable. It just had a low-selling trilogy. Whereas with Forspoken, that game was shit. From the ground up. When you are so bad at game design that you decide, actually, the way that we have to be able to decide if we're going to do a thing or if we're going to be able to, like, explore a thing is, we just gave them access to this new form of magic. How are we going to help them learn how to do it? I got it! We're just gonna sprinkle XP around their arena and hit them with a deluge of fucking exposition! You made a shit game. You made a shit game. Start over. I don't know about you, but I would be disappointed. I'd be disappointed in my team. I'd be disappointed in myself. I'd be disappointed in the people who allowed me to do that. I'd be upset. I'd be mad. I'd be mad. But yeah, I've ranted enough. I am going to go do other things now while I'm still live, so you enjoy playing the video game. Because I'm going to start talking about some really ignorant shit. I'm sorry. Right. So, while I'm on my ranting spree, poo. Dev's not on tonight. I thought Dev was playing tonight. Or is he playing later? Oh no. Dev's not here and I'm sad. But yeah. Score's bad. I don't believe this game is worthy of anything above a 5 or a 6. It's disgusting that people would insist otherwise. But besides that, Atomic Heart is going to be the next game played. I'll be playing it Monday. I think is going to be the first time I start doing it. I know I have a project that I want to get out next week. I'm going to start intermittently dropping the videos that I've been recording in a batch throughout the month. So, pay attention to the channel. Look out for when there's a new video. Like it, share it, etc. Because I just reminded myself, I can't talk about the thing that I want to talk about on my YouTube channel until I actually just launch the stream by itself. Because if I say what I have to say about the topic that I want to talk about at this exact moment in time while I'm still streaming, I'll probably get banned on the other platform. So I'm gonna hint at it on the timeline, and y'all can find out when that stream comes up. Right? I'm gonna go have proper dinner, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next stream. I love you all. Have a good night. Eat your vegetables. And remember, it's only bad if you let it be. Advice for video games and life. Bye, everyone.